The chandelier sparkled like falling stars over the grand auditorium, but all Mira could feel was heat crawling up her neck, burning, blistering, humiliating. She stood center stage, her trembling fingers clutching the corners of the award certificate she had just received. Applause was still fading when a man in a dark blazer rushed to the microphone and whispered something to the dean. Myra's stomach twisted. The dean's expression changed, smile dropping, posture stiffening. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, adjusting his glasses with a visible tremble. I'm afraid there's been a development. It appears this award must be suspended pending investigation. There is," he cleared his throat, "credible evidence that Miss Mira Rafik plagiarized her final thesis."
Gasps.
Then murmurs. Then silence, so loud it rang in her ears. Myra's hands dropped to her sides. "What?" she whispered, voice too small for the mic to catch. "That's not true." From the shadows of the VIP section, a tall figure stirred. Kian Vale, founder of Vale Tech and the billionaire who had funded the very scholarship Mira was on, leaned forward slightly. His face, chiseled and unreadable, bore the kind of silence that felt colder than words. He said nothing. No one did. Screens around the hall lit up. An email chain. Screenshots. A time-stamped draft of Myra's thesis sent from a burner email days before submission. Her name in the metadata.
Fake.
Every bit of it. "I didn't write that email," she said, her voice rising. "That's not mine. Someone set me up." The audience didn't listen. They whispered. Some looked away. One girl near the front row, Dania, Myra's ex-roommate, smirked like she'd waited for this moment. A pit formed in Myra's stomach. The dean motioned for security. "I'm sorry, Mira. You must leave the stage." "I won the competition fairly," Mira protested, stepping back. "I worked for months. Check the original file. Check the draft history. Ask." Security guards approached from the side. "Miss, please don't make a scene." The lights felt blinding now. Her pulse roared in her ears. She turned, locked eyes with the one man who could have silenced all of this in a second. Kian Vale. He didn't blink.
Didn't speak.
Just watched.
Cool.
Quiet. Distant. As if she were nothing but another name on a rejected list. 30 minutes later, Mira sat on the marble steps outside the university's main hall, her award certificate folded and ruined in her lap. Her phone buzzed endlessly. Calls from journalists, messages from classmates, and email from the financial aid office. Her scholarship was suspended, effective immediately. Rain began to fall, soft at first, then steadily, as if the universe itself decided she deserved one final slap.
Footsteps approached.
She didn't look up. "You handled that better than most would have," came a voice low, even, rich with authority. She turned. Kian Vale stood there, wearing a black tailored suit and holding a single umbrella over both of them. Mira stood instantly, heart pounding. "You," she hissed. "You didn't say a word in there." His jaw flexed. "It wasn't my place." "You funded this entire program," she said, stepping into the rain, away from the umbrella. "You created the scholarship. You had the place. You just didn't have the spine." Kian's eyes flickered, not with anger, but something worse. Interest. "You're quite bold," he said. "No, Mr. Vale," she snapped. "I'm just not rich enough to be scared." For a beat, neither of them moved. The rain soaked through her scarf, her blouse, her pride. But she didn't shiver. He did something unexpected. He took off his coat and handed it to her.
She didn't take it.
"You're either innocent," he said slowly, "or a very, very good liar." Mira looked him dead in the eyes. "Then maybe you'll finally notice me when I prove which one I am." And with that, she turned and walked away, drenched, broke, and burning with humiliation. Behind her, Kian Vale, the man who had rejected every woman who tried to impress him, stood still in the rain, watching, thinking. For the first time in years, something inside him stirred. A week had passed since the scandal. A week of deathly silence from the university. A week of cancelled interviews, hateful headlines, and ignored appeals. A week of Mira clenching her fists so tightly in bed, she woke up with crescent-shaped bruises on her palms. And now this. The Vail Tech Innovation Summit. The biggest tech conference in the city. Sponsored, organized, and headlined by none other than Kian Vail himself. Mira wasn't invited. She came anyway, wearing the same worn flats she'd owned since freshman year, a navy blazer from a secondhand store, and a single sheet of paper in her bag. Security hadn't even noticed her. Maybe because no one expected her to show up again. Especially not in a ballroom of media, CEOs, and intellectuals. But she waited, in the back, heart pounding like a war drum. And then she heard it. Up next, a few words from Vail Tech's founder and CEO, Mr. Kian Vail. Applause thundered. All heads turned toward the stage. Mira moved. She reached the stage just as the moderator finished his introduction. In one fluid motion, she stepped forward, snatched the mic from its stand, and turned to face a hall packed with powerful people and cameras rolling live.
Gasps.
Someone yelled, "Get her off the stage." But Mira lifted her chin. Her voice didn't shake. "My name is Mira Rafiq," she said. "I'm the girl this institution publicly humiliated last week. And I've stayed quiet until now." Backstage, a security team was already mobilizing. But in the front row, Kian Vail raised a single hand. "Wait." The room obeyed. Mira swallowed, staring directly into the sea of eyes, and into his. "You accused me of plagiarism," she said, holding up her paper. "But you never checked my side. You saw fake screenshots and assumed guilt. But here's the file history, downloaded straight from the university server. I sent the first draft of my thesis 6 weeks before that email ever appeared. With timestamps, metadata, everything. I've even traced the burner email that framed me. It was sent from a campus IP address registered under someone else's ID." She flicked the paper toward the press section. "I was framed. And no one, not even the people who funded my scholarship, bothered to ask if I was telling the truth." Silence reigned. Then a buzz of murmurs began rising. But she wasn't done. "I don't care if you believe me," she said, voice fierce. "I came here to speak my truth. Not for forgiveness. Not for charity. But because I earned my place, and I won't let anyone take that away from me." She stepped back. Security finally arrived, reaching for her arms. But once again, Kian Vail's voice cut through the air like a blade. "Let her go." The men froze. Kian stood.
Slowly.
He adjusted his cufflinks, walked to the mic, and faced the crowd. "I reviewed Miss Rafiq's file myself last night," he said, calm but cold. "What she says is true. There was a breach, a setup, and we let it happen." Another gasp. He looked at Mira now, not as if she were beneath him, but as if she had shaken something loose inside him. "To Mira Rafiq," he said clearly, "for having more integrity and courage than half the boardrooms I've sat in, I'm offering you a direct position in our R&D fellowship program. Full access. Full pay. Full authority." Mira blinked. The room burst into applause. But Mira didn't smile. She stepped back up to the mic, face tight. "I'm not sure I want to work for a company that believes money equals truth." Then she turned and walked off the stage, leaving cameras, applause, and Kian Vail stunned, frozen mid-step, watching her retreat like a man watching a fire walk away from him. Later that night, Vail Tech penthouse. The city glowed beneath Kian's floor-to-ceiling windows. But he didn't see it. He was staring at a paused recording of the event. Specifically, her face, fierce, proud, untamed. The way her voice cracked when she said, "I earned my place." She wasn't just defending herself, he murmured. She was challenging me. He'd seen hundreds of women try to impress him, beg for attention, use beauty, status, charm. But Mira? She rejected his offer in front of the world. And somehow, he couldn't stop thinking about her. Subject: immediate placement, Vail Tech Fellowship. From CEO Office, Kian Vail. Message: you didn't accept my offer. So I rewrote it. Check-in at 9 a.m. sharp. 47th floor. You'll know where. KV. Mira stared at the screen, blinking. He wasn't asking. He was telling. And even worse, a part of her wanted to see him again. Vale Tech Headquarters, 47th floor. 9:03 a.m. The executive suite was glass, chrome, and unnerving silence. Myra's cheap heels clicked on the polished floor as she stepped out of the elevator into a hallway lined with digital artwork and quiet tension. A receptionist with a headset greeted her. "Mr. Vale is expecting you." "He sent that message like I had no choice," Mira muttered. The receptionist didn't blink. "You'd be the first person to tell him no twice." Before Mira could answer, the door to the private office opened. And there he was. Kian Vale, in a charcoal gray suit and no tie, sleeves rolled slightly, arms crossed as he leaned against his massive glass desk. The skyline stretched behind him like a kingdom. He didn't move, just watched her. "I wasn't sure you'd show up," he said coolly. "I almost didn't, but you did." Her jaw clenched. "Because I don't run." He nodded slightly. "Good. Because I don't chase." A silent beat. Tension buzzed between them, electric, sharp. "You've assigned me to your floor?" she asked. "You're part of the elite fellowship. I want you close."
Why?
Mira folded her arms. "You don't even like people. You famously rejected every PR engagement with a woman under 30. His voice dipped. "You're not like them. Because I humiliated you in public?" "No," he said, stepping closer. "Because you told me the truth, without caring who I was." His proximity made her pulse skip. She refused to back down. "You want the truth?" she said, defiant. "I still don't trust you. One grand gesture doesn't erase the fact that you stood there while they tried to destroy me." Something flickered in his eyes. "I deserved that," he said quietly. "But you still walked into the fire. You still faced me." "You're not the fire," she snapped. "You're the one pouring gasoline and pretending to watch from a distance." His eyes darkened. "Then maybe I want to see what happens when the match fights back." She flinched. Kian stepped back. "I've already spoken to your new team. You'll be working on Project Alera, our top AI research initiative. You'll report to me."
Directly.
"Is this business," she asked, "or something else?"
His voice softened.
"That's up to you." Later that week, Mira settled in fast, faster than she wanted. Her mind clicked into code and design, but her heart kept listening, for footsteps, a breath behind glass, the sound of him. Kian rarely interrupted her work, but she could feel him watching her during presentations. His eyes, unreadable and intense, didn't wander like other men's. He studied. He waited. And one night, as the office lights dimmed and her colleagues left one by one, she found herself alone in the lab. Rain tapped the windows. A door opened. She turned. Kian stood in the doorway, no suit jacket, a loosened collar. "I thought you'd gone," she said. "So did I." He walked in slowly, hands in pockets. "I've read your research papers," he said. "You think differently. You don't chase profit. You chase purpose." "I don't want to be owned by anyone," she said flatly. He paused in front of her. "Then don't be. Build something that no one can take from you." A flicker of emotion crossed his face, too fast to name. "What made you like this?" she asked suddenly. "So closed off. So cold." He stared at her for a long moment. "People lie," he said finally. "Money makes them worse. Love turns into leverage." "Is that why you don't date?" He gave a half smile. "It's not about dating, Mira. It's about not giving someone the power to destroy you." "Then why are you giving me that power?" The question slipped out before she could stop it. Kian's eyes narrowed, heat in their depth. "I'm not," he said, but the whisper of hesitation betrayed him. Silence stretched again, until the fire alarm lights suddenly flickered red. A sharp buzz, then a calm, automated voice. "Evacuate the building immediately." Mira stood, alarmed. "What's going on?" Kian grabbed a tablet and checked the alert. "System error. But the elevator's down. We'll take the stairs." But as they reached the stairwell, the lights cut out entirely. "Power's out too?" she asked. He frowned. "No, this isn't a glitch. It's a breach. Cyber? He looked at her.
No.
Internal. Before she could ask what he meant, a backup light flickered on, and they were face to face. Inches apart, the hum of emergency generators vibrated through the floor. And for the first time, Mira noticed the look in his eyes wasn't cold. It was terrified. Not for him. For her. The stairwell was silent. Too silent. Dim red backup lights flickered weakly overhead as Mira and Kian descended the concrete steps, tension clinging to the air like static. Their footsteps echoed, and with each level, Mira's unease deepened. I thought this was a glitch, Mira whispered, glancing over her shoulder. Kian's jaw was tight.
No.
This was deliberate. Someone shut down our system from inside. Inside your company? She asked. He gave a clipped nod. There are people who want me out. Or worse, humiliated. Welcome to the club, she muttered under her breath. Kian stopped.
Turned.
I didn't just bring you onto my floor because you're talented, Mira. You were never the enemy. His voice was low, his stare sharp as glass. But someone you know might be. Mira's breath caught. What are you talking about? He hesitated. The silence said more than words. We're being watched, he said finally.
Tracked.
Every move since your scholarship scandal has been part of a larger plan. Mira narrowed her eyes. You think someone framed me to get to you? It wouldn't be the first time. She folded her arms, even as fear twisted in her gut. And you didn't think I deserved to know that? I was trying to protect you. No, she snapped. You were trying to control the damage. Like everyone else in your world. Kian opened his mouth, then stopped. They reached the bottom floor. As the final door creaked open, cool night air rushed in. Mira stepped outside and inhaled deeply, but the relief was short-lived. A black car was already waiting in the alley, engine purring. Not his usual driver. Kian's entire body stiffened. That's not mine. Suddenly, a man stepped out of the back seat. Expensive shoes, dark tailored suit, and a face Mira hadn't seen in years. Dania's brother? She breathed, eyes going wide. Kian stepped in front of her instantly. You know him. He used to tutor on campus. He helped Dania with her thesis. But he disappeared last year after a cheating ring was exposed. Kian's voice was a growl. That ring stole company intel. We buried it quietly, no arrests. Too many powerful families involved. The man smiled, all teeth. Miss Rafiq, you've risen quickly. Funny how you went from disgrace to boardroom darling. Stay away from her, Kian warned. But the man wasn't looking at him anymore. His eyes were locked on Mira. You don't know, do you? He said softly. You don't know what he's kept from you. Mira's stomach sank. What are you talking about? Your mother. Her blood ran cold. She once worked for Vale Corp. Until she uncovered illegal trials in one of their AI programs. She went to the press. The story vanished.
So, did she?
Mira's eyes darted to Kian. His face had turned to stone. Tell her, Kian, the man whispered. Tell her why she lost everything. Why your company destroyed her future. Mira turned to Kian, voice trembling. Is it true? His silence was deafening. Tell me, she screamed. Finally he spoke, hoarse and low. I didn't know it was your mother. Not until I saw your file. You knew I lost her. You knew I was barely surviving, she said, voice cracking. And you still brought me here like some test subject? I was trying to make it right. By what? Watching me fall again. He stepped closer, his voice ragged. You are the only thing I didn't plan. You weren't a strategy. You weren't a fix. Then what was I to you? She choked. Kian looked at her, and for the first time, the cold CO looked like a man breaking apart. You were the only one who ever told me no. The silence that followed was heavier than thunder. The man in the alley laughed softly and got back in his car. You'll destroy each other, he called out, before the door slammed shut and the car pulled away into the night. Mira stood frozen. Rain began to fall again, soft, steady, cruel. She turned without another word and walked into the darkness. Kian didn't stop her. The next morning, Mira didn't show up to Vale Tech. No calls. No emails. No excuses. Just silence. Kian stood at his office window, overlooking the silver sprawl of the city he once controlled like a chessboard. His reflection stared back at him, flawless suit, unshaken posture, lifeless eyes. She was gone, and this time, he had no one to blame but himself. Across town, Myra's tiny studio apartment. Sunlight pooled on the cracked tiles of the kitchenette as Mira stuffed clothes into a battered duffel. Her hands were shaking, but her expression was locked in stone. He knew. All this time, he knew what Vale Corp did to her mother. And he let her walk into his empire like a test subject, like a pawn. Her phone buzzed again. Kian Vale, 8 missed calls. She tossed the phone aside. Let it ring. But no matter how fast she packed, the memory of last night chased her, his voice cracking when he said she was the only one who ever told him no. His eyes, haunted, like a man unraveling from the inside out. She blinked it away. Emotions were luxuries. She couldn't afford them now. Evening, live broadcast, corporate HQ. The words echoed like a blade across every TV screen, across every social feed. An internal breach was discovered at Vale Tech last night. A betrayal from within our board. But more than that, there was a betrayal of trust.
Kian Vale, CEO.
Myra's eyes widened. She turned toward the television in the corner of the laundromat, soap dripping from her fingers as the screen showed him, unshaven, raw, stripped of his usual control. We've built empires at the expense of truth, he said, voice trembling slightly. I once let someone brave, someone innocent, be accused because it protected us. That person's name is Mira Rafiq. And I failed her. Gasps in the laundromat. Phones recording. Myra's heart pounded. She came from nothing, Kian continued. She had no power, no name, no shield. And yet she stood against me. And I, like a coward, watched from the sidelines. But not anymore. He paused, looked directly into the camera. Mira, if you're watching, know this. I didn't just bring you close because you were smart. I brought you close because you made me feel again. I brought you close because I fell for you. Myra's hand gripped the edge of the folding table. Her throat closed. He hadn't said, I love you. Of course not. Not Kian Vale. But that last sentence held something more terrifying than love.
Truth.
3 hours later, Vale Tech Building, rooftop. Rain again. It always seemed to follow them. Kian stood under the open sky, jacket off, hair damp, staring over the edge as wind pulled at his sleeves. The building was nearly empty, media swarming below, and inside, a boardroom full of vultures waiting for his resignation. But he didn't care. She wasn't coming. He had burned every bridge, and maybe, finally, the last piece of him had gone down with it. The rooftop door clicked open. He didn't turn. Then, her voice. Was that for the cameras or for me?
His head whipped around.
Vera. Rain soaked through her hoodie, her eyes fierce and swollen. But her spine straight. Unbroken. Kian stared, breath caught. I don't expect forgiveness, he said. And I don't deserve it. No, she replied. You don't. She walked toward him, stopping just inches away. But you told the truth. Publicly. You put your power on the line. And that matters. His voice was hoarse. I only started telling the truth the day you walked away. Her gaze softened. Just slightly. He hesitated. If you need to hate me, do it. Just say something before you disappear again. Mira searched his face, then looked past him at the city below. You didn't fall for me because I was kind, she said quietly. You fell because I refused to let you be a monster. Kian's eyes flinched, then closed. And you, she added, are still figuring out who you are without the mask. She reached into her bag, pulled out her company ID, held it out to him. I'm leaving the fellowship. His eyes widened. You're quitting? I need space to build something that isn't yours. Not because I hate you, but because I want to know who I am without you. He took the card from her hand, fingers brushing. I understand, but... He looked up. I'm not done with you, she whispered.
Beat.
A flicker of something warm passed between them. I'm just not ready to be yours yet. Then she turned and walked away. This time, not from fear, but on her terms. And Kian Vale, cold, untouchable, billionaire god, stood alone on the rooftop, rain on his face, clutching her ID like it was the only thing left that ever felt real. Spotlights danced off mirrored ceilings. Camera shutters clicked like thunder. Industry titans sipped champagne and circled one another with polite, venom-laced smiles. But Mira stood alone. She wore a sleek black gown she designed herself, modest, bold, and unbranded. Her lips were bare, her eyes sharp. She wasn't here as Kian Vale's protege. She wasn't here as the disgraced student who got her redemption arc. She was here as Mira Rafiq, founder of Serenova, her new startup, funded by her own pitch, her own name, her own pain. She hadn't seen him since that rooftop. Not in person. Only glimpses, his face on news feeds, clips of shareholder meetings, a shadow at tech conferences always a city away. But now she felt it. The shift in air.
The static.
She turned slowly. And there he was. Kian Vale. Dark tux. Collar open. Still impossibly tall, impossibly unreadable. But his eyes? They burned for her. He walked across the hall like the rest of the world didn't exist. Every other conversation dropped. Heads turned. The billionaire was moving with one target. Her. Mira, he said, voice low. You weren't on the list, she replied coolly. I know, he said. I bribed the security. She blinked. You what? I bribed my way into a conference that my company already sponsors, he said. Because I knew the only way I could see you was if I showed up in your world. He reached into his pocket, pulled out something small.
Square.
She stepped back.
No.
Don't do this. He held up both hands. It's not a ring. She blinked. It's a letter, he said, unfolding the tiny square. I wrote it the night you walked away.
Didn't send it.
Didn't know how. He offered it to her. Her hands didn't move. He read it himself. Mira, I used to think power meant control. That building empires meant building walls around my heart. Then you walked in on fire and broke every rule I built to protect myself. You didn't save me. You scared me. Because loving you means finally having something to lose. And I've never had the courage for that.
Until now. Kian.
Myra's breath hitched. The gala noise faded. I'm not asking you to forgive the man I was, he said. I'm asking you to believe in the man I want to be. She stared at him. You're still a storm, she whispered. Everything about you threatens to take over my life. And you, he said, stepping closer, are the only woman who ever taught me how to survive one. She let out a shaky laugh. You always say the right things. Not always, he murmured. Only when it's you. The lights dimmed for the keynote announcement, casting shadows across their faces. Someone from the press snapped a photo. Someone gasped. Because Mira had stepped forward. Only an inch, but enough.
And he saw it.
Permission. I want to build something with you, she whispered. Not around you. Not under you. With you. Kian reached into his pocket again. This time it was a ring.
Simple. Silver.
Unbranded. Then let's build it. Not as CEO and protege. Not as billionaire and student. Just us. Silence. Then her hand extended. And the room burst into stunned applause as the coldest man in business history slipped a ring on the finger of the woman who once challenged him to be better or be forgotten.